So me and my wife are about ready to schedule a wedding in Cabo. We were looking for some travel agents because we have a majority of family members from Salem, Oregon going to Cabo with us, along with some family out of state. And so she had talked with me about trying to search for travel agents. So we started looking online, found somebody in Seattle. Didn't really work out. They wanted us to charge some kind of service charge, and it's $1,800 just to book a trip through them. So I didn't like it, and I was starting to speculate travel agents. I feel like they're kind of scammers, anyways. But then she had a close friend who had stepped up and said, "Hey, I have a travel agent," which was Tricia, and we had went along. Hey, we'll just call her. She's local. Worst case scenario, we can go sit down and talk with them, kind of figure out how this whole thing should work. So Tricia, over the phone, had talked with us on speaker, asking us about our trip, what we had going on, what we wanted to do, what we had in mind. So we were actually going to go to Cabo, to a resort, and have our wedding, which we've already booked and reserved. So we've received confirmations from the resort that we have a reservation for our wedding and ceremony and reception. And she said that she was going to take it over. So her travel agency would now take over our wedding reservation, and she could book directly with them. And if we spent upwards of $4,500 or more, we could get a free Vegas trip, and we could get a free trip to Europe. And so the way she sold it to us, honeymoon or a year after for 1 year anniversary, you can go do this. We'll basically plan everything through the wedding through her. She'll contact the resort, make the arrangements. That way we're not having to wait for the resort to contact us 3 months before. So, great, sounds good. She has sent us over some invoices. We looked it over. We went ahead and paid with credit card. And within 2 days, we'd already seen the charge pop up. I started sharing that information with a lot of my close friends and family and talking about this free Vegas trip if everybody books now. And that seemed to be the catch-all for everybody. As soon as you said Vegas, everybody was in, including my grandparents, which, for me, it's pretty classy. It would have been a really good time. But everybody started booking. Several of my closest friends booked immediately. Most of them booked around $1,500 and up. So they started hitting charges, and I think after the first week, they started phone calling me about some of the issues that they were having. And those issues were, they were not only getting charged from Prestige Travel, which is Tricia's travel company, but they were also getting some secondary charges from places like United Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines and Air Europa and Uber, and all these different charges are popping up and nobody knows where they're coming from. So first red flag goes up. I start investigating the matter by calling Trish. Trish, as soon as I call her, immediately she calls me right back. So she's explaining me the process, trying to reassure me that this is not a scam, when in the back of my head, pretty much from the beginning, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. She tried to reassure me that she was placing holds on these credit cards by Prestige Travel charging $1,500 to your credit card. It's to guarantee that those funds are available, so when her vendors or her suppliers make their purchase, they're guaranteed the funds. She reassured me once those funds were paid off and those transactions were approved, that then she would then refund the money. Her and I got into an argument over the situation. I didn't feel like it was fair especially for us, to charge me $4,500 on a credit card and then wait for suppliers to charge me an additional $4,500 and then me pay $9,000 in interest. And so after our conversation, within 2 days, she had immediately refunded our $4,500 deposit that we had placed. But the phone calls didn't stop. Other family friends, close friends, relatives, grandparents, parents are calling me saying, hey, you know, I have a lot of these other charges coming up, and I keep reassuring them that, hey, no, this is just how things are or whatnot. And the things that were starting to really irritate me and make me take matters further was a lot of this had to do with Hawaii. I mean, we had Hawaiian Air charges, we had United charges, and when they're looking into the matter, everything is pointing to Hawaii. And through some friends, we have found out that maybe Tricia has a boyfriend in Maui. And while we were on a previous trip, we had a discrepancy on that trip. And when I had called Trish, she told me that she was just landing in Maui at that time. And through some other friends, it sounds like maybe they had been charged on their credit cards for their trip to Mexico, which ended up being her trip to Maui. So I immediately reached out to all my friends. I think we were blessed that a majority of them had used credit cards. A lot of them had disputed the charges. I had them all immediately cancel their credit cards, get new ones en route, just in case more suppliers wanted to come by and try to charge more. I was just embarrassed. You know, my friends and my family trusted me to get them to this location and to have a good time and celebrate our wedding. So to me, I just kind of felt compelled to fight for them on behalf of everybody. So that was a long day. Several phone calls, a lot of friends we reached out to, and having to have them dispute, get off the phone with us. And I mean, we all kind of banded together, which is great. I think a lot of people are starting to receive refunds on this, so the credit card companies are working with some of them, but we do have people that are still out some money. And so I feel like me and my group of friends, we're kind of fortunate, but others aren't. Others are struggling, especially for us in our situation. If I would have showed up for my wedding knowing that I had spent, you know, 5 figures to pay for everything for it, and show up and not have a reservation, to show up and not have a venue, and then have, you know, 40, 50 plus people join me and flights, and we all sit there. I mean, how do you pay for something like that? You know, and to be the cause of that chaos, your wedding is pretty much ruined everybody else's year for sure. Because I don't know of a lot of people that have $4,000 or $5,000 that could just sit around and blow on whatever on a vacation. I know I don't. I work very hard for what I do, so, you know, it's pretty tough.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
When was this?
This has all been in the last 30 days. And actually, majority of these conversations with Trish have all happened in the last week to 10 days. So I've had regular contact with her. It hasn't been until the last 5 days or 4 days where I haven't heard from her. And I was just, at that point, I just kind of went into defensive mode and just contacted my friends and let's protect ourselves from any further damage. So.
Because you know you're not going to see a dime from her, so you guys went through the credit card companies.
No, yeah. We're not going to see a dime of it. I mean, the great news is we have some friends who have reached out, and we have a lot of law enforcement, you know, help that's hopefully going to come through and seek some criminal charges here too. I mean, there's no reason why anybody should let this go. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's taken thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and there's a lot of other people in the state who have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars who are currently incarcerated. And I feel like she needs to be a part of them. You know, she needs to see some help. She needs to be held accountable. So.
And you guys are married already, or no? You had that wedding?
We are currently married, so we decided that we were going to take care of the legal matters here before we decided to go to Mexico. There's quite a few hoops to jump through in Mexico in order to have them marry you. So we just got it done here a year prior to our wedding date, so that our wedding date stayed the same when we went to Mexico.
So do you still have that reservation in Cabo?
We've reached out, and this was probably one of the hardest situations for us. When this all started happening, red flags started popping up, I reached out to the resort, and none of our reservations were there.
But you booked them.
We booked them. we had to finally email, and based off of the emails that were sent back to us, the confirmations from Trish that came to us, the letterheads weren't the same, but she's still using, like, for instance, our resort's trademark and sending us emails saying that we have these reservation numbers that are phony, that don't belong to anybody. Well, okay, I give them the reservation number, but they're not popping up. So my wife and I had reached out to the resort and the wedding coordinator that we had talked to originally, and she reassured us that we still do have our reservation, and that's probably why we couldn't rebook it. So as far as us continuing our venture to Mexico, that's gonna happen. So
you can still get married in Mexico because you booked it, but she tried taking it over.
that was the way she communicated to me. I don't think she did. I think that she's just really good at manipulating people, and she's very much a salesman. You know, she's making everybody feel extremely comfortable, like she's in your corner, she's gonna fight for you. She starts, you know, gaining trust slowly, and I don't think anything that she's doing is to try to help people or get them their trip. I think she's financing her own personal wants and needs, and you know, based off of the information I've given and what we have, you know, that's exactly what she's doing. So
the $4,500 you gave her, do you think she used it for anything related to your travel?
I think after a couple heated conversations with her, I think she was pretty scared. So she immediately refunded the money without even asking or even talking about it with me. So after a heated argument, 2 days later, I had the money back on the account. So, yeah, from her travel agency, not from, I didn't have any secondary charges from vendors or her suppliers.
Like
you
your
know,
friends do.
like my friends do, yes.
So she's not using that, those $1,500 your friend spent, she's not using any of that to book their rooms, or was it rooms and flights or rooms?
So she was supposed to be reserving flights and rooms for my friends and family. And so far, the only thing that's ever come out on anybody's credit card statements is travel, or not travel companies, but airlines, United Airlines, Air Europa, Hawaiian Air. And after questioning her, she's telling me that each airline has its own travel department, and that is what she's using to book the travel. But after investigation, I mean, most of these charges, if you look, they do have a number to contact on the charge, plus the reference number for anybody who ever gets caught in this. They can start investigating on their own. So,
are your friends going to book the hotel still in Mexico?
we'll still book through the resort, but I think a lot of people at this point, I mean, I think a lot of people are a little bit more nervous dealing with travel agents after this. So a lot of people are starting to book on their own.
You guys won't use a travel agent to get the hotel again?
At this point, I don't really know how we're going to accomplish that, but we're looking out. We're hoping that we could find somebody a little bit more reputable that could help us. So.
You want everyone to be able to make it. It's your wedding.
Exactly, yeah. It's supposed to be a good time, so that's why we're doing a destination.
So you obviously hope she's held accountable and...
Yes, yes.